I'm so glad you found your way here tonight. Your mind might process things faster than those around you, noticing details others miss, asking questions that feel too deep for casual conversation. You'll discover why intelligence can feel like both a gift and a weight, and understand that you're not alone in this experience. Welcome to Psychology Facts to Fall Asleep. 2. Wherever you are right now, perhaps lying in the quiet darkness while your thoughts continue their endless analysis, or feeling that familiar exhaustion from explaining yourself all day. Allow yourself this moment of understanding. We'll journey through 100 psychology facts about exceptional intelligence. From the child who learned too quickly and felt too deeply, to the adult still searching for minds that match their pace, to the moment when difference becomes acceptance. This thoughtful journey through consciousness builds bridges between searching minds. Your gentle support, a like, subscribe, or quiet share, creates a pathway for more brilliant, tired souls to discover this sanctuary. One sleepy soul at a time. It only takes a moment, but it means the world to those still searching. Let yourself settle completely here. Feel your jaw unclench, your breath deepen naturally. You can let these thoughts drift past without analyzing them. Sense that soothing heaviness enveloping you, like your consciousness slowly dimming its brightness. Thoughts dissolving into the peaceful fog of approaching sleep. Safe and understood. Close your eyes and breathe deeply. You're floating where thoughts rest safely in gentle darkness. Let your mind merge with infinite peace. And now we begin. Some people notice patterns where others see randomness. They're the ones who solve puzzles no one else recognized as puzzles, who ask why 3 layers deeper than the conversation was meant to go, who remember details from years ago that seemed insignificant at the time. This isn't about trying harder or paying more attention. It's about how their brains are wired to process information. Recent neuroimaging studies show that individuals with IQ scores above 130 demonstrate increased connectivity between the prefrontal cortex and posterior brain regions, creating faster information highways in the brain. This enhanced neural efficiency means they're constantly making connections others don't see, finding relationships between concepts that seem unrelated, building complex mental models without conscious effort. But this gift often arrives with a peculiar loneliness, the isolation of seeing more than you can easily share. Intelligence quotient, or IQ, measures a specific type of cognitive ability, primarily pattern recognition, logical reasoning, and problem-solving speed. The average IQ score is set at 100, with about 68% of the population falling between 85 and 115. Those scoring above 130, representing roughly 2% of the population, are considered highly gifted. Above 145, we enter profoundly gifted territory. Less than 0.1% of people, and beyond 160, we're talking about perhaps 1 in 30,000 individuals. These aren't just numbers on a test. They represent fundamentally different ways of experiencing the world. Recent meta-analyses examining decades of research confirm that these score differences correlate with measurable variations in brain structure and processing speed. Higher intelligence isn't simply being smarter. It's processing reality through a different lens entirely. Children with high IQs often learn to read before anyone teaches them. They might be 3 years old, sitting with a picture book, and suddenly they're reading the words. Having somehow decoded the relationship between symbols and sounds through observation alone, parents describe a moment of startling realization. Their toddler just taught themselves something that typically requires formal instruction. Longitudinal studies from gifted development centers show that approximately 60% of highly gifted children teach themselves to read by age 4, compared to less than 1% of the general population. This early emergence isn't about pushy parenting or flashcards. It represents an innate drive to understand systems and symbols, a mind that can't help but seek patterns and meaning. But it also marks the beginning of asynchronous development, being intellectually years ahead, while emotionally still being a small child. High intelligence comes with what researchers call overexcitabilities, a term coined by Polish psychologist Kazimierz Dabrowski and validated through extensive research into gifted populations. These are heightened responses in 5 areas: intellectual, emotional, sensory, imaginational, and psychomotor. Intellectually gifted individuals don't just think more. They experience thinking as intensely pleasurable and necessary. Like a physical need, they might lie awake at 3 a.m., not because they're anxious, but because their minds discovered an interesting problem and won't rest until it's solved. This intellectual overexcitability means curiosity isn't a choice. It's a constant, driving force. Questions pile up faster than answers. Every explanation opens 5 new doors of inquiry. The mind refuses to accept surface-level understanding, always pushing deeper, seeking underlying principles and universal patterns. It's exhausting and exhilarating in equal measure. Emotional overexcitability means feelings arrive with overwhelming intensity. A highly intelligent person doesn't just feel sad. They experience profound existential sorrow about the nature of loss itself. They don't just enjoy music. They're transported by chord progressions, moved to tears by harmonic complexity. Studies of gifted populations found that individuals with IQs above 130 show significantly higher levels of emotional depth and intensity compared to the general population, often correlating with increased activity in the anterior cingulate cortex and insula, brain regions associated with emotional processing. This isn't being overly sensitive or dramatic. It's a nervous system that registers emotional nuance the way a concert pianist hears subtle variations in tone. They catch micro-expressions on faces, sense tension in rooms before words are spoken, absorb others' emotions, like radio signals. Beautiful, but profoundly draining. Sensory overexcitability makes the physical world feel turned up too loud. Clothing tags become unbearable irritants. Fluorescent lights create a buzzing discomfort that others don't notice. Certain textures feel wrong at a visceral level. The smell of perfume in an elevator can be overwhelming. Neurological research demonstrates that highly gifted individuals often show differences in sensory processing, with heightened responses in the thalamus, the brain's sensory relay station. This means they're literally receiving more sensory data, with less natural filtering. The world arrives unedited, full volume, all channels at once. Some highly intelligent people learn to cope by creating carefully controlled environments. Soft clothes, specific lighting, quiet spaces. Others endure constant low-level sensory stress, a background static of too muchness they can never quite explain to others who don't experience it. Imaginational overexcitability gives them rich inner worlds that feel as real as external reality. They might replay conversations with perfect detail, imagine scenarios with cinematic vividness, create elaborate mental models of systems and relationships. Their dreams are complex narratives with symbolic depth. Daydreams become immersive, alternate realities. Studies using functional MRI scans found that highly gifted individuals show increased default mode network activity, the brain regions active during internal thought, imagination, and self-referential processing. This means, even at rest, their minds are busy constructing, simulating, exploring. It's a superpower for creativity and problem-solving, but it also means difficulty staying present, tendency toward rumination, and the peculiar loneliness of living partly in worlds others can't see. Reality feels thin sometimes, less interesting than the versions they can imagine. Psychomotor overexcitability manifests as physical restlessness and high energy. These individuals might talk rapidly, move constantly, need less sleep than others. Their thoughts translate into physical urgency. They pace while thinking, fidget during conversations, struggle to sit through meetings or lectures that move too slowly. Research examining attention patterns found correlations between high IQ and what appears to be ADHD-like symptoms. But the mechanism is different. It's not attention deficit, it's attention surplus. Their minds process so quickly that normal paced activities feel frustratingly slow, creating physical tension. They're not hyperactive. They're understimulated by environments designed for average processing speeds. The world keeps asking them to slow down, but their nervous systems won't comply. It's like asking a racehorse to walk at human pace all day, every day. These 5 overexcitabilities often appear together, creating what feels like existing at a higher intensity across all dimensions. Everything is more. More feeling, more thinking, more sensing, more imagining, more moving. Meta-analysis of gifted populations confirmed that the presence of multiple overexcitabilities strongly correlates with higher IQ scores, particularly above 145. This isn't just being a lot or attention-seeking. It's a fundamental difference in how the nervous system processes reality. They experience life in high definition, while everyone else has standard resolution. Colors seem brighter. Ideas feel urgent. Emotions cut deeper. Possibilities multiply endlessly. It's beautiful and difficult. The beauty of experiencing more. The challenge of rarely finding others who experience life at the same intensity. They learn to dial themselves down. Present edited versions hide the full extent of their inner experience just to fit into normal conversations. So yes, people with extremely high IQ do experience the world differently. Not better, not worse. Differently. Their brains process faster, feel deeper, notice more, while others comfortably exist in the present moment. They're simultaneously analyzing the past, predicting futures, imagining alternatives. This is why they often seem absent in conversations. Why small talk feels impossible. Why they struggle to explain their thought processes. Research on gifted populations consistently shows that highly intelligent individuals report feeling fundamentally different from peers, often from very early childhood. They're not being elitist or difficult. They're trying to translate simultaneous, multi-layered thinking into linear language, trying to dim their natural intensity to match room temperature, trying to connect across a gap they didn't create. Understanding this difference is the first step towards self-compassion for those living it, and empathy from those around them. High intelligence often comes with vocabulary that develops years ahead of chronological age. A 5-year-old might use words like frustrated, disappointed, or complicated with precise meaning, when other kindergartners are still mastering basic sentences. By age 7 or 8, they might read at high school levels, engaging with complex literature and grasping nuanced themes. But this creates a strange split. Their mind understands abstract concepts, while their emotional regulation skills remain age-appropriate. Longitudinal studies of gifted children found that profoundly gifted children often show vocabulary and comprehension 4 to 6 years beyond their age by 3rd grade. They can discuss philosophical questions but still have meltdowns over small frustrations. Teachers and parents struggle with this asynchrony. Should they be treated as intellectual peers or as the children they still are emotionally? The answer is both. Somehow, which satisfies no one. Memory in highly intelligent individuals works differently. They don't just remember more, they remember with greater detail, context, and emotional resonance. They might recall specific conversations from years ago, remember exactly where they were when they learned certain information, retrieve obscure facts seemingly at random. Neuroscience research shows enhanced connectivity between the hippocampus and prefrontal cortex in individuals with higher IQ scores, creating more robust memory encoding and retrieval pathways. This isn't photographic memory. That's largely a myth. It's more like having a highly organized mental library with an exceptional indexing system. Every experience gets filed with multiple tags, connected to related concepts, integrated into existing frameworks. Sounds useful, but it also means they remember slights, disappointments, and embarrassments with the same clarity as triumphs. The past never quite fades into comfortable distance. Abstract thinking comes naturally and early. While most children think concretely until age 11 or 12, gifted children might grasp metaphor, irony, and symbolic meaning by age 6 or 7. They understand that stories can mean more than their literal events, that numbers represent concepts beyond counting, that words can carry layers of significance. Developmental research demonstrates that children with IQs above 130 show abstract reasoning capabilities typically seen in adolescence, with earlier maturation of the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex. This allows them to think hypothetically, consider alternate scenarios, understand complex cause and effect chains. But it also means they worry about death when other children worry about homework. They ponder existence while their peers play. They see problems, environmental crisis, social injustice, human suffering, that they're too young to process emotionally. Knowledge without the emotional scaffolding to support it. Pattern recognition operates constantly, automatically, involuntarily. They see mathematical relationships in architecture, linguistic patterns in casual speech, behavioral patterns in social groups. Their brains can't help but seek order in apparent chaos, connections between seemingly unrelated things. Studies using EEG technology found that highly gifted individuals show increased gamma wave activity associated with binding information from different brain regions. during both active problem-solving and rest states. This means their brains are always working, always connecting, always finding patterns. It makes them excellent at systems thinking, troubleshooting, and creative problem-solving. But it also means they can't turn it off. They analyze their own emotions as they experience them, critique their thoughts as they think them, observe themselves, observing. Self-consciousness becomes recursive. Simple experiences become complicated by layers of meta-awareness. Learning speed creates its own problems. They grasp concepts so quickly that they miss the practice phase where skills become automatic. A highly gifted child might understand algebra immediately, but struggle with basic arithmetic because they skip the repetition that builds fluency. They might read complex texts, but have messy handwriting because fine motor skills develop at normal speed. Educational research shows that highly gifted students often demonstrate Swiss cheese learning, deep understanding in some areas, with unexpected gaps in others. They learn through insight rather than practice, which works brilliantly until they encounter something that requires sustained effort. Then they face something they've rarely experienced: genuine difficulty. Without practice, struggling. They haven't built resilience or frustration tolerance. The child who never had to try suddenly doesn't know how to try. Perfectionism often accompanies high intelligence, but it's not the organized, achievement-oriented kind people imagine. It's a quieter form of perfectionism, the kind that makes starting feel more difficult because they see exactly what excellence looks like and hesitate to produce anything less. They see exactly what they want to create, understand precisely what excellence looks like, and can't bear producing anything that falls short. Studies of gifted individuals found higher rates of maladaptive perfectionism compared to the general population, associated with increased activity in error monitoring circuits of the brain. They're not motivated by excellence. They're haunted by imperfection. Every project becomes a referendum on their worth. Every mistake feels like evidence of fraudulence. They know they're supposed to be smart, so any struggle threatens their entire identity. It's easier to not try than to try and confirm they might not be as exceptional as everyone believes. Underachievement is paradoxically common among the highly gifted. Despite obvious ability, many don't excel academically or professionally. Meta-analysis, examining decades of gifted education research, found that approximately 15 to 40% of highly gifted students underachieve chronically, with rates increasing at higher IQ levels. The reasons are complex: boredom with standard curricula, frustration with slow-paced instruction, social pressure to fit in, perfectionism-driven avoidance, or simply never developing study habits because early schooling required no effort. When everything comes easily at first, they don't build the skill of perseverance. They might coast through elementary school, struggle in high school when content finally becomes challenging, and flame out in college when sustained effort is suddenly required. Their potential becomes a weight. Everyone's disappointed they're not living up to what they should be capable of, including themselves. Social interactions feel like constantly performing a translation. They think 3 steps ahead in conversations, predict where topics will go, formulate responses before others finish speaking. But they've learned to slow down, to pretend they're just now understanding things they grasped immediately, to show polite interest in topics they exhausted mentally in 30 seconds. Neuroimaging studies show that highly intelligent individuals demonstrate increased activity in theory of mind networks during social interactions. They're constantly modeling others' mental states, adjusting their presentation, moderating their natural communication style. It's strategic social performance, not authentic connection. They learn to ask questions they don't need answered, laugh at jokes they saw coming, express surprise at predictable outcomes. After every social interaction, they're exhausted, not from people, but from pretending to be a version of themselves that won't make others uncomfortable. Small talk feels genuinely uncomfortable, not because they're snobbish, but because their brains resist engaging with information-sparse exchanges. When someone asks, "How are you?" they know it's a greeting, not a question, but their mind still tries to formulate an honest, thorough answer before social convention makes them say, "Fine, thanks." They want to discuss ideas, systems, meanings, connections. But most casual conversation operates at a surface level that their minds won't settle into. Studies of communication preferences found that people with IQs above 130 report significantly lower satisfaction with small talk and higher preference for substantive conversations. This creates a dilemma. They crave human connection, but most social bonding happens through exactly the kind of light, casual interaction their brains find unsatisfying. They can do small talk, but it costs them energy rather than providing it. They're constantly weighing whether connection is worth the effort of simplifying themselves. Humor operates differently for them. They appreciate wordplay, layered meanings, absurdist comedy that reveals uncomfortable truths. But conventional humor, puns, slapstick, sitcom setups, often falls flat because they see the joke coming. Their prediction engines spoil punchlines. They laugh anyway, socially, but it's another performance. Research on humor preferences confirms that highly intelligent individuals show preference for complex, ironic, or satirical humor over simple incongruity-based comedy. They're the ones laughing at things others don't find funny and confused when others laugh at things they don't find funny. This seems trivial until you realize how much social bonding happens through shared laughter. When humor doesn't naturally align, they're slightly outside the group dynamic, always a half beat off, present but not quite included. Even comedy becomes complicated. They often feel older than their chronological age from very early on. A 10-year-old might feel 30. An 18-year-old might feel 40. This isn't maturity exactly. They still make age-appropriate mistakes and have age-appropriate needs. It's more like temporal displacement, existing at an age their mind feels, but their life circumstances don't match. Research on gifted development found that profoundly gifted individuals commonly report feeling born old or developmentally out of sync with same-age peers throughout childhood and adolescence. They relate better to adults as children, then relate better to no one as adults. They've been having conversations about mortality, meaning, and existential questions since grade school, while peers worried about recess. Now peers have caught up to thinking about serious things, but they've been living in that space for decades already. They're perpetually somewhere else temporally, too old for childhood, too aware for conventional adulthood. Boredom isn't just unpleasant for them. It feels almost physically uncomfortable. When understimulated, they experience restless anxiety, irritability, sometimes even mild depression. Their minds need complexity the way bodies need movement. Neuroscience research shows that highly intelligent individuals demonstrate lower tolerance for repetitive tasks and under stimulating environments, with decreased dopamine activity during monotonous activities. Their brains literally reward complexity and novelty, punish routine and simplicity. This makes modern life challenging. So much of work, school, and daily existence involves repetitive tasks. Waiting, slow processes. They're constantly fighting the urge to be elsewhere, doing something more mentally engaging. They fill every spare moment with podcasts, audiobooks, articles, just to give their minds something to process. Silence and stillness feel threatening. Boredom is the adversary. They're always seeking sufficient stimulation. Decision-making becomes complicated because they see too many variables. Simple choices: what to eat, what to wear, which route to take, explode into decision trees with dozens of branches. They consider second-order effects, opportunity costs, long-term implications, alternative scenarios. Analysis becomes overwhelming. Research on cognitive processing found that higher intelligence correlates with longer decision times and greater anxiety about choices, particularly in ambiguous situations. This isn't indecisiveness. It's being unable to turn off comprehensive analysis. They know they're overthinking. They can observe themselves spiraling into unnecessary complexity, but knowing doesn't stop it. Their brains won't release a question until thoroughly explored. Meanwhile, others make intuitive choices and move on. The highly intelligent person is still weighing options, considering implications, unable to commit, because certainty is impossible when you see all the ways things could unfold differently. They often feel like anthropologists studying human behavior rather than naturally participating in it. Social rules feel learned rather than instinctive, requiring conscious application instead of automatic response. Studies examining social cognition found that many highly gifted individuals report learning social skills explicitly, through observation and analysis, rather than absorbing them naturally through imitation. They watch others to understand what's expected, create mental models of social interaction, then execute these models consciously. It works, mostly, but it's exhausting. Everyone else seems to navigate social situations on autopilot while they're manually operating every aspect. They're always slightly outside, watching themselves interact, adjusting in real time based on feedback. Connection feels choreographed rather than spontaneous. They're lonely in rooms full of people, performing relatability while internally feeling separate. By now, perhaps you recognize yourself in these descriptions, or someone you know. These aren't deficits or disorders. They're variations in how human minds can work. Comprehensive analysis, synthesizing decades of research on giftedness, confirms that these patterns are real, measurable, and consistent across cultures and contexts. High intelligence creates a different experience of being alive. Not better, not superior, just different in ways that often feel isolating. They're the ones who've been thinking too much since childhood, feeling too deeply, noticing too much. They've learned to hide it, manage it, perform normalcy while internally existing at a different frequency. But tonight, here, they don't have to hide. Tonight, they can recognize that the way their mind works isn't wrong, just rare. And in that recognition, perhaps, find some peace. Let's pause here and notice your remarkable brain. 86 billion neurons, each connected to thousands of others, creating trillions of synaptic pathways that fire in patterns unique to you. As you breathe slowly, appreciate this 3-pound universe inside your skull, processing, connecting, understanding in ways that are distinctly yours. Your brain isn't better or worse than others. It's calibrated differently, tuned to frequencies others might not perceive. Feel the gentle electrical storms of thought, the chemical rivers of neurotransmitters, the constant communion of cells that creates your consciousness. This is you. This pattern of neural firing that sees more, feels more, questions more. Rest now in the simple wonder of being this particular arrangement of thinking matter. Now we continue. Intelligence has both genetic and environmental components. But the relationship is more complex than simple nature versus nurture. Meta-analyses examining twin studies and genomic data found that genetic factors account for approximately 50 to 70% of IQ variance in adults, with heritability increasing with age. Children's intelligence is more influenced by environment, nutrition, stimulation, education, safety. But as individuals mature and gain more control over their environments, genetic potential expresses itself more fully. Dozens of genes contribute small effects rather than any single intelligence gene. These genes affect brain development, synaptic formation, neurotransmitter efficiency, and neuroplasticity. But genes are not destiny. They're tendencies, propensities, potential pathways. Environment determines whether that potential actualizes. A genetically gifted child in an unstimulating, stressful, or traumatic environment may never develop their full capability. Conversely, optimal environment can help someone reach the upper limits of their genetic potential. Brain structure differs measurably in highly intelligent individuals. Advanced neuroimaging studies using diffusion tensor imaging and functional connectivity mapping show several consistent patterns. First, increased thickness in the prefrontal cortex, the region responsible for executive function, planning, and complex reasoning. Second, enhanced white matter integrity, meaning faster signal transmission between brain regions. Third, more efficient neural networks, with stronger connections between frontal and parietal regions involved in abstract reasoning and pattern recognition. Interestingly, it's not just about having more neurons or a larger brain. Einstein's brain was average size, but showed unusual connectivity patterns, particularly in regions connecting spatial reasoning and mathematical thinking. Current research suggests intelligence relates more to network efficiency, how well different brain regions communicate, than to absolute size or neuron count. The highly intelligent brain isn't necessarily bigger, it's better connected, more integrated, more fluid in its information exchange. Neural processing speed, how quickly brain cells communicate, contributes significantly to intelligence. Research using millisecond precision brain imaging found that individuals with higher IQ scores show faster neural response times, particularly in tasks requiring integration of multiple information sources. Their neurons fire more rapidly, synaptic transmission happens more efficiently, and information propagates through networks more quickly. This translates into real-world experience as the feeling that everyone else is thinking in slow motion. They've already considered multiple angles while others are still processing the initial question. This speed advantage appears partly genetic and partly developed through early stimulation and learning. The brain is remarkably plastic in childhood. Enriched environments, complex challenges, and diverse learning experiences can actually increase processing speed by strengthening synaptic connections and optimizing neural pathways. But there are limits. You can't create processing speed that isn't supported by underlying neural architecture. Working memory capacity, the ability to hold and manipulate multiple pieces of information simultaneously, strongly predicts intelligence. Research in cognitive psychology estimated that working memory capacity explains approximately 50% of variance in fluid intelligence scores. Think of working memory as mental workspace. Average individuals can hold 4 to 5 items in mind at once. Highly intelligent individuals might manage 7 to 9 items, sometimes more, and can manipulate these items more flexibly. This allows them to consider complex scenarios with multiple variables, hold entire arguments in mind while analyzing each component, or work through multi-step problems without external notes. They can think about thinking, observe their own thought processes, and simultaneously evaluate multiple competing hypotheses. But this expanded workspace has a cost. It's harder to turn off. Their minds constantly juggle information, making it difficult to quiet mental activity or achieve the kind of mental stillness others naturally experience. The cerebellum, traditionally thought to control only physical coordination, plays a surprising role in intelligence. Recent neuroscience reveals that the cerebellum contains more than half the brain's total neurons and connects extensively with prefrontal regions. In highly intelligent individuals, cerebellum to cortex connectivity shows enhanced efficiency. The cerebellum appears to serve as a kind of cognitive autopilot, handling routine processing and pattern detection, freeing up cortical resources for novel thinking. This explains why highly intelligent people often develop strong intuitions. Their cerebellums have learned complex patterns so thoroughly that recognition happens below conscious awareness. They just know things without knowing how they know. But if cerebellar development was disrupted in early childhood, through illness, stress, or lack of varied experiences, even genetically gifted individuals might not reach their full cognitive potential. The brain is an integrated system. All parts must develop properly. Neurotransmitter differences contribute to the emotional intensity, often accompanying high intelligence. Research examining dopamine, serotonin, and norepinephrine systems found that highly gifted individuals often show variations in neurotransmitter receptor density and reuptake efficiency. Higher dopamine activity in prefrontal regions may enhance cognitive flexibility and reward from intellectual activity, but also increases susceptibility to boredom and restlessness. Variations in serotonin systems might contribute to emotional depth and sensitivity, but also to anxiety and mood variability. Norepinephrine differences can enhance alertness and focus, but also create physiological arousal that's hard to downregulate. This isn't dysfunction, it's variation. But it helps explain why many highly intelligent people struggle with anxiety, depression, or sensory overwhelm, despite no external reason. Their neurochemistry operates at different set points, creating internal experiences that don't match their external circumstances. Therapy and medication designed for average neurochemistry may not work the same way. Myelination, the process of coating neural connections with insulating sheaths that speed signal transmission, continues into the mid-20s and differs among individuals. Longitudinal studies using advanced MRI techniques found that highly intelligent individuals often show accelerated myelination in childhood, but also more extensive myelination continuing into early adulthood, particularly in regions connecting diverse brain areas. This extended development period might explain why many highly gifted individuals report feeling like they came into themselves in their late 20s or early 30s. Their brains were literally still optimizing connections, building highways between previously separate knowledge domains. The downside is a longer period of feeling unfinished, uncertain, still becoming. While peers settled into identity and career by their mid-20s, the highly intelligent person might still feel in development, potential unrealized, not yet the person they're supposed to become. It's not failure. It's simply a longer developmental arc. The default mode network, active when the brain isn't focused on external tasks, operates differently in highly intelligent individuals. During rest or mind wandering, most people's default mode network activates moderately, but research using resting state fMRI found that people with IQs above 130 show significantly higher default mode network activity. Their brains don't really rest. Even during downtime, they remain mentally active, replaying conversations, imagining scenarios, solving problems, creating narratives. This enhanced default mode activity correlates with creativity, introspection, and self-awareness, but also with rumination, anxiety, and difficulty being present. They struggle with mindfulness practices because their brains resist the quiet. Meditation instructions say, observe thoughts without engagement, but their thoughts are engaging by default. The internal world is rich, complex, and demanding. Turning it off isn't relaxation, it's deprivation. They need cognitive nutrition constantly. Minds grazing on ideas like bodies need food. Stillness feels like starvation. Neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to reorganize and form new connections, remains strong throughout life, but operates differently in highly intelligent individuals. Research in neuroscience suggests that cognitive challenge stimulates neuroplasticity more effectively in those with higher baseline intelligence. They benefit more from complex learning, develop new skills more rapidly, and maintain cognitive flexibility longer into aging. Their brains stay more malleable, more capable of growth and adaptation. But this also means they need ongoing challenge. Without sufficient complexity, their brains don't just plateau. They may deteriorate faster. Highly intelligent people in unstimulating jobs or environments can show steeper cognitive decline than those continuously challenged. Their brains need exercise, novelty, problems to solve. Retirement or repetitive work can be genuinely difficult, creating depression not just emotionally, but neurologically. They require cognitive challenge, like athletes require physical training. Without it, they decline, becoming shadows of their potential. The amygdala, involved in emotion processing and threat detection, shows interesting patterns in highly gifted individuals. Some studies found increased amygdala reactivity, contributing to emotional intensity and sensitivity to social rejection. Others found decreased reactivity, suggesting better emotion regulation through cognitive reappraisal. The contradiction resolves when considering individual development. Highly intelligent people with supportive environments may develop exceptional emotion regulation, using their cognitive capacity to modulate amygdala responses, but those who experienced early trauma, chronic stress, or invalidating environments might have hyperactive amygdalas despite high IQ. Intelligence doesn't automatically create emotional resilience. Combined with emotional overexcitability, a sensitive amygdala can make the highly intelligent person vulnerable to anxiety disorders, social anxiety, or emotional overwhelm. They think their way through emotions, analyzing feelings rather than just experiencing them, which sometimes helps, but sometimes amplifies distress through recursive rumination. Brain-derived neurotrophic factor, or BDNF, a protein supporting neuron growth and survival, appears in varying levels among individuals. Genetic studies found associations between certain BDNF gene variants and higher cognitive ability. BDNF promotes neuroplasticity, enhances learning, supports memory formation, and protects against neurodegenerative disease. It increases with exercise, complex learning, social connection, and adequate sleep. It decreases with chronic stress, poor nutrition, social isolation, and sleep deprivation. This creates a feedback loop. High intelligence may correlate with genetic predisposition to higher BDNF, but actualizing that potential requires lifestyle factors that maintain BDNF levels. A gifted child in a stressful, chaotic environment may not develop their potential because chronic cortisol suppresses BDNF production. Similarly, a highly intelligent adult struggling with insomnia and isolation might experience cognitive decline despite genetic advantages. Intelligence isn't just genetic. It's gene-environment interaction, constantly negotiated through daily choices and circumstances. Interhemispheric connectivity, communication between left and right brain hemispheres, tends to be enhanced in highly intelligent individuals. The corpus callosum, the thick bundle of neural fibers connecting the hemispheres, often shows greater size and efficiency in gifted populations, according to imaging studies. This enhanced connectivity allows for better integration of logical, analytical processing, traditionally left hemisphere, with holistic, intuitive processing, traditionally right hemisphere. They can simultaneously analyze details and see big pictures, break problems into components while maintaining awareness of the whole, think linearly and laterally at the same time. This cognitive flexibility is powerful but sometimes creates indecision, unable to choose between competing valid perspectives, seeing merit in contradictory positions, understanding multiple sides of every issue so thoroughly that commitment feels impossible. Truth becomes complicated. Simple answers feel inadequate. They're aware of seeing complexity everywhere, unable to rest in the comfort of clear binary choices. Sleep architecture differs in many highly intelligent individuals. Sleep research suggests that people with IQs above 130 often show altered sleep patterns, more time in REM sleep, associated with memory, consolidation, and emotional processing, more vivid dreams, and sometimes shorter total sleep duration without apparent impairment. Their brains remain active during sleep, processing information, solving problems, creating connections. Some report waking with solutions to challenges they'd been struggling with, having literally slept on it productively. But many also struggle with insomnia, minds too active to surrender to sleep, thoughts continuing their relentless parade regardless of time. Sleep becomes another arena where they're different, needing less or struggling more, never quite matching the standard patterns. Even rest is complicated. Even unconsciousness requires accommodation. They joke about their brains having no off switch. But it's not really funny when you're exhausted and your mind won't stop. The prefrontal cortex, the CEO of the brain, develops fully later in highly intelligent individuals, sometimes not maturing until the late 20s or early 30s. While this region shows enhanced thickness and connectivity in gifted populations, developmental neuroscience research found that complete myelination and pruning of prefrontal networks occurs later when baseline intelligence is higher. This extended development creates the classic gifted paradox. Intellectually advanced but emotionally and socially still maturing, capable of abstract philosophy but impulsive in personal decisions, wise about human nature generally, but confused about their own relationships. They might excel academically through their 20s while making unwise life choices, understand psychological theory while failing to apply it to themselves, give brilliant advice while ignoring it in their own lives. This delayed prefrontal maturation isn't a defect. It's the cost of building more complex cognitive architecture. But it extends adolescence, prolongs uncertainty, and makes early adulthood confusing. So why do their brains develop differently? The honest answer, supported by comprehensive reviews in psychological science, is that we still don't fully understand. Genetic factors create potential, but environmental factors, prenatal nutrition, early childhood experiences, educational opportunities, emotional support, cognitive stimulation, determine whether that potential manifests. Some children are born with neural architecture primed for exceptional intelligence, but never actualize it due to poverty, trauma, or lack of opportunity. Others with moderate genetic potential maximize their capabilities through enriched environments. Intelligence emerges from the dance between genes and experience, nature and nurture, potential and actualization. What we know for certain is that highly intelligent brains work differently. Faster processing, denser connections, enhanced integration, heightened sensitivity. These differences create the experiences we've been exploring. And understanding the neuroscience helps answer the deeper question. Why do I feel this way? Because your brain literally operates differently. It's not in your head. Well, it is. But you know what I mean. You're still here with me. Thoughts still flickering like candlelight in the quiet darkness of your mind. Just notice. Don't judge. Just notice where your consciousness is drifting. We're exploring intelligence itself, the very thing doing the exploring right now. Strange, beautiful, and perfectly calm. Your presence here matters. Others like you are listening too, across time zones and circumstances, all connected by this particular way of thinking. Let's drift onward together through the rest of our journey. Childhood for highly intelligent individuals often feels lonely in ways hard to articulate. They're surrounded by age peers but connect with none of them. Conversations feel shallow. Play feels pointless. And interests don't align. Studies of profoundly gifted children found that a significant majority report feeling different or not understood by same-age peers, with loneliness peaking in middle childhood, ages 8 to 12. They might prefer talking with adults or much younger children over same-age classmates. Adults appreciate their vocabulary and insights. Younger children don't judge their intensity. But age peers sense difference and respond with exclusion or mockery. They learn early that being smart comes with social cost. Some hide their abilities, deliberately underperform, dumb themselves down to fit in. Others embrace isolation, becoming the weird kid, finding books more reliable than people. Both strategies hurt. Teachers often don't know what to do with them. Standard curriculum moves too slowly. They're bored and disruptive or mentally checked out. But acceleration creates social problems. Now they're the youngest in class, physically immature, emotionally out of sync. Ability grouping might help but often isn't available. Research in advanced academics found that most teachers receive minimal training in gifted education, leaving them unprepared for students whose needs differ dramatically from average. Some teachers resent these students, viewing them as show-offs or troublemakers when they're really just unstimulated. Others overburden them with extra work. More of the same, not different challenge. The gifted student sits through lessons covering material they mastered years ago, experiencing profound boredom, learning nothing except that school is where curiosity goes unstimulated. Friendships prove complicated throughout life. They need depth and intellectual compatibility. But most people want lighter connections. Research in personal relationships found that highly intelligent individuals report fewer but more intense friendships, with quality mattering more than quantity. They're not interested in surface-level hanging out. They want meaningful conversations, shared curiosity, mutual understanding. But finding people who match their intensity and intellectual needs is rare. They might go years between finding someone who truly gets them. Meanwhile, they're surrounded by acquaintances who don't understand why they're so serious or overthink everything. They learn to perform casual friendship while internally feeling alone, even in groups. Sometimes they wonder if something's wrong with them for not enjoying normal socializing. Nothing's wrong. They just need different nutrients from relationships than most people do. Romantic relationships bring particular challenges. They need partners who can match them intellectually, tolerate their intensity, and understand their need for complexity. But they also need emotional maturity, which doesn't correlate perfectly with intelligence. They might date someone brilliant, but emotionally unavailable, or emotionally healthy but intellectually unstimulating. Studies of relationship satisfaction found that for highly gifted individuals, intellectual compatibility matters more than for the general population. Conversations matter more than conventional romance. They fall in love with minds first, personality second, physical attraction third. But this creates problems. They might stay in unfulfilling relationships because the conversations are good, or leave healthy relationships because they're understimulated. Partners without similar intelligence often feel inadequate, sensing they're being analyzed even in intimate moments, because they are. The highly intelligent person can't turn off analysis, even in bed. Imposter syndrome hits differently when you're supposed to be smart. Everyone expects brilliance, so any mistake feels like exposure. They worry constantly about being found out as not actually intelligent. despite objective evidence of capability. Research found that imposter phenomenon affects high achievers disproportionately, with many studies showing elevated rates in gifted populations. The pressure is internal and external. Parents expected greatness. Teachers praised their potential. Peers assumed they'd succeed. Now any failure is magnified. Any struggle is shameful. They're not allowed to not know things. Admitting confusion feels like revealing fraud. So they pretend. Hide gaps in knowledge. Avoid situations where they might be exposed as less than exceptional. Intelligence becomes a weight. They're imprisoned by others' expectations and their own internalized pressure to be perpetually impressive. Exhausting. Many highly intelligent people struggle with mental health despite, or because of, their cognitive abilities. Comprehensive reviews show elevated rates of anxiety disorders, depression, and existential concerns in gifted populations. Anxiety often stems from their ability to see everything that could go wrong, every potential negative outcome, every risk and complication. Their imagination, so useful for creativity and problem solving, sometimes shows them challenging scenarios and potential difficulties with vivid clarity, making it harder to settle into calm. Depression can arise from existential awareness, understanding mortality, meaninglessness, cosmic insignificance in ways that others don't contemplate as deeply, or from chronic understimulation creating emptiness. Their minds are built for complexity but often find themselves in simple circumstances, creating a difficult mismatch between capacity and reality. Therapy helps, but many therapists don't understand the specific challenges of high intelligence, treating it as mere overthinking rather than a fundamentally different cognitive experience. Sensory processing differences persist into adulthood. They remain sensitive to sounds, lights, textures, and stimuli that others filter automatically. Open offices create challenges. Too much noise. Too many conversations bleeding into each other. Constant interruption. Crowds overwhelm with excessive input. Shopping malls create sensory overload. Research on sensory processing in gifted adults found that a significant majority report sensory sensitivities that impact daily life, requiring environmental modifications for comfort. They need quiet spaces, controlled stimulation, and time alone to process the constant barrage of input. But modern life is loud, bright, busy, overstimulating. They're constantly adapting to their environment, trying to maintain focus and calm in spaces designed for average nervous systems. People think they're being difficult or demanding. They're just trying to function without sensory overwhelm triggering shutdown or meltdown. Decision fatigue affects them more intensely because they analyze more variables for every choice. By afternoon, they're mentally exhausted from the cumulative weight of countless micro-decisions, each approached with unnecessary thoroughness. Research on decision-making found that higher cognitive ability correlates with decision fatigue occurring earlier in the day and impacting executive function more severely. They might make brilliant strategic decisions in the morning but struggle choosing dinner by evening. The solution? Routines, systems, rules that reduce daily decisions. Feels constraining to minds that crave novelty. But without it, they experience difficulty under the weight of perpetual choice. Steve Jobs wore the same outfit daily, not out of eccentricity but cognitive conservation. When your brain processes everything deeply, you must protect it from trivial decisions. Energy management becomes crucial. They can't afford to spend mental resources on unimportant choices. Many discover they're gifted late, in adulthood, after years of feeling vaguely wrong or broken. They've struggled with relationships, underachieved despite ability, felt chronically misunderstood, but never understood why. Then someone suggests testing, or they stumble across descriptions of giftedness, and suddenly decades of confusion make sense. Studies of late identified gifted adults found that most experience profound relief mixed with grief. Relief at finally understanding themselves. Grief for years lost, trying to fit into molds that were never meant for them. They'd been blaming themselves for social difficulties, for feeling different, for not being satisfied with conventional life. Now they understand. Nothing was wrong with them. They were just playing a different game, judged by inappropriate standards, trying to thrive in environments designed for different cognitive architectures. The recognition, even informal, becomes permission to be themselves. Halfway through our journey now, and perhaps patterns are emerging. High intelligence creates particular life experiences: intellectual isolation, emotional intensity, sensory sensitivity, existential awareness, social challenges, and internal pressure. These aren't flaws or disorders, but natural consequences of brains calibrated differently. Research across decades confirms these patterns appear consistently across cultures, contexts, and generations. The specifics vary. Cultural factors shape expression. Privilege affects opportunity. Trauma influences outcomes. But the core experiences remain recognizable. Highly intelligent people across time and place report similar feelings: being different, misunderstood, too much, not enough, lonely even when surrounded, searching for others who think at the same depth and speed. This isn't imagination or exaggeration. It's measurable, documented, real. Understanding this helps reduce shame. You're not broken. You're built different. And that's neither good nor bad. It just is. Take a slow, deep breath and notice this moment. Right now, your mind might be racing ahead, already thinking about tomorrow, next week, years from now, or replaying yesterday, last month, years ago. This is what highly active minds do. They time travel constantly, rarely settling in the present. For just these few breaths, let yourself notice the pull toward past and future, but gently return to now. The sensation of breathing, the weight of your body, the temperature of air on your skin. Your thoughts will wander. That's not failure. That's your mind being itself. Simply notice when you've time traveled and softly return to this moment, this breath, this existence. You don't have to analyze the present. You don't have to understand it. You can simply be in it, briefly, before moving on. Nowhere to go, nothing to solve, just breathing, existing. Being this aware consciousness for a few more seconds. Now we continue drifting through the second half of our journey. Career satisfaction eludes many highly intelligent people. They need work that challenges them intellectually, allows autonomy, and creates meaningful impact. But most jobs involve repetition, bureaucracy, and tasks below their capability. Research in vocational behavior found that job satisfaction for individuals with IQs above 130 depends more heavily on intellectual engagement and autonomy than on salary or prestige. They might earn well but feel empty if the work doesn't use their full capacity, or they might change careers repeatedly, searching for something that finally fits, never quite settling. Traditional career paths feel constraining. They want to do everything, learn everything, create everything. Choosing one path means abandoning countless others. So they struggle with commitment, bounce between interests, or stay in unsatisfying work while dreaming of alternatives. Perfectionism evolves into existential paralysis. It's not just about doing things well. It's about the gap between their vision of what could be and what they can actually create. They see the masterpiece in their mind but produce something lesser. The disappointment feels heavy and discouraging, creating distance between effort and outcome. Research on perfectionism found that many highly intelligent individuals avoid creative pursuits entirely because they can't tolerate the gap between conception and execution. They'd rather not try than try and confirm they're not as brilliant as they're supposed to be. This robs them of growth opportunities, skills developed through imperfect practice. But they want immediate mastery. When it doesn't come, they quit. They're experts in nothing because they abandon everything before competence develops. Potential transforms into regret. Existential depression strikes many highly gifted individuals, particularly in adolescence and early adulthood. They confront questions of meaning, purpose, and mortality earlier and more intensely than peers. Research on existential concerns in gifted populations found that approximately 1 in 5 experience significant existential depression, characterized by feelings of cosmic insignificance, meaninglessness, and awareness of life's limitations. They understand we're tiny beings on a small planet in an incomprehensibly vast universe, alive briefly before returning to non-existence. This awareness, which might emerge in others later or never, hits them young and intensely. Standard treatments for depression often struggle because the issue isn't chemical imbalance, but philosophical crisis. They need meaning-making, purpose, contribution, answers to why bother that satisfy sophisticated analysis. Platitudes don't work. Shallow purposes feel unsatisfying. They often report feeling like aliens studying humanity. Social rules seem arbitrary. Cultural norms feel baseless. Traditions lack logic. Why do we do these things this way? The answer's because that's how it's done, or tradition. Satisfy them? Not at all. Studies on social cognition found that many gifted adults describe feeling perpetually outside, observers rather than participants in human social life. They understand the rules intellectually but don't feel them instinctively. It's anthropology, not belonging. They can analyze why people behave certain ways, predict social outcomes, understand group dynamics. But they can't quite be part of it unself-consciously. They're always watching themselves interact, adjusting, performing, never natural, never truly at home in social situations. They're strangers everywhere, fluent in the language, but never native speakers. Emotional regulation becomes complicated because they analyze emotions while experiencing them. Sadness triggers questions about why they're sad, what it means, whether it's justified. Anxiety prompts meta-analysis of the anxiety, which creates more anxiety. Research on emotional processing found that cognitive reappraisal, thinking about emotions differently, can be both helpful and harmful. Sometimes analysis provides distance and control. Other times it intensifies feelings by adding layers of judgment and meaning. They can't just feel sad. They must understand the sadness, trace its origins, evaluate its validity, consider its implications. Emotions become intellectual problems to solve rather than experiences to have. This robs them of catharsis. Crying doesn't release emotion when you're simultaneously observing yourself cry and analyzing why you need to cry. Everything becomes meta. Many struggle with a need for constant stimulation. They require continuous mental engagement. Podcasts, audiobooks, articles, videos, games, puzzles. Silence feels threatening. Boredom triggers anxiety. Research on cognitive need found that people with higher intelligence show increased rates of information-seeking behavior that can become all-consuming, interfering with sleep, relationships, and responsibilities. They pursue information intensely, chasing the dopamine hit of learning something new, understanding something complex, solving something challenging. It's not always healthy, but understimulation feels worse. They're caught between overstimulation, exhaustion, and understimulation, despair, unable to find sustainable middle ground. Their brains demand feeding. They can't rest. They can't stop. The engine won't idle. Gifted individuals often experience what researchers call multipotentiality, having talents and interests across multiple unrelated domains. They could succeed in science or art, business or philosophy, mathematics or music. Research found that this abundance of options creates decision paralysis and regret. Choosing one path means abandoning others. Each career choice is a small death of alternative selves they could have become. They wonder constantly if they chose wrong, if they're wasting potential in the wrong field, if they should start over in something else. This prevents deep mastery. They become good at many things, but expert in none, always wondering about roads not taken. Their broad capability becomes challenging. Everyone envies their options. They're overwhelmed by them, submerged in possibility, unable to commit. Social justice concerns often weigh heavily. They see systemic problems, understand interconnections between issues, recognize suffering that others overlook or accept. Research on moral reasoning found that higher cognitive ability correlates with increased concern about fairness, justice, and reducing suffering. They can't ignore inequality once they see it. They can't accept that's just how things are. Their minds won't permit comfortable ignorance. This creates moral burden, knowing about problems they can't solve, seeing suffering they can't prevent, understanding complexity that makes simple solutions impossible. Some become activists, fighting systems they understand too well. Others experience despair or cynicism, overwhelmed by how broken everything is. Intelligence brings awareness. Awareness brings responsibility. Responsibility brings weight. They often report feeling too much for others, too intense, too deep, too questioning, too emotional, too everything. People tell them to lighten up, or not think so hard, or just relax. But they can't dim themselves. Research on intensity found that a significant majority of highly gifted adults report being told they're too much in various ways throughout life. So they learn to hide, moderate, perform low-intensity versions of themselves. After social interactions, they're exhausted from self-regulation. Alone, they can finally be their full selves. Intense, curious, questioning, feeling deeply, but loneliness hurts too. They're caught between isolation and exhausting performance, never quite finding spaces where they can exist comfortably at full intensity. They dim so others aren't uncomfortable, but dimming hurts. Sleep deprivation is common. Their minds won't quiet at night. Lying in darkness, thoughts continue their parade. Problems to solve, scenarios to imagine, conversations to replay, questions to explore. Sleep research indicates that highly gifted individuals often report higher rates of insomnia and delayed sleep onset, sometimes lying awake for extended periods before achieving sleep. They try everything: meditation, medication, routines, sleep hygiene. Sometimes it helps, often it doesn't. Their brains are oriented toward activity. Quieting them requires more effort than should be necessary for basic biological function. So they function on insufficient sleep, which impairs cognition, mood, and health. The irony: their greatest asset, their minds, prevents the rest those minds need to function optimally. They find themselves in cycles where the very mind they rely on makes the rest it needs more difficult to reach. Many report feeling they've never met their intellectual equal, someone who matches their depth, speed, and complexity of thinking. They've met smart people, educated people, successful people, but matching the specific way their mind works, rare to non-existent. Studies of profoundly gifted adults found that over 2/3 report never or rarely experiencing true intellectual compatibility with others. This creates profound loneliness, going through life with an internal richness they can never fully share. It's like having an entire library in their heads, but everyone else can only understand simpler content. Not their fault. Not others' fault. Just painful mismatch. They wonder if they're broken for needing what seems impossible to find, or if they're arrogant for even thinking in terms of intellectual equals. The doubt itself adds another layer of isolation. They're lonely and uncertain about being lonely. Humor becomes a survival mechanism and a shield. They learn to be funny, to make their intensity palatable, to deflect from their difference, to connect with others through laughter when deeper connection isn't available. Research on humor confirms that gifted individuals often use sophisticated humor, wordplay, irony, satire, absurdism, both as creative expression and social strategy. Being the funny one is safer than being the smart one. Humor disarms. It makes them likable despite their difference. But it's also exhausting. Another performance. Another way they can't quite be themselves. Behind the jokes is someone who would rather have serious conversations but has learned those make people uncomfortable. So they joke, deflect, keep things light, while internally yearning for depth. The class clown often has the saddest interior life. Creative pursuits offer both deep fulfillment and occasional frustration. When in flow, deeply engaged in creation, problem solving, or learning, they feel most alive, most themselves. Time disappears. The internal noise quiets. They're finally using their full capacity. But flow is rare. Most of life is mundane maintenance. Logistics, repetitive tasks. Research on creativity found that creative engagement significantly improves mental health. But access to creative opportunities inversely correlates with life demands. The more responsibilities they have, work, family, bills, obligations, the less time for creativity. Their souls become undernourished while they manage spreadsheets. They become hollow versions of themselves. Potential atrophying, creativity suffering from neglect. Some sacrifice stability for creative freedom. Others sacrifice creativity for security. Both choices hurt. There's no easy answer. They carry complicated relationships with their intelligence. Pride mixed with shame. Gratitude mixed with resentment. It's helped them succeed but also isolated them. It's their primary identity but also a burden. Research on identity found that many report wishing they were normal, less aware, less sensitive, less different. Intelligence is supposed to be advantage, privilege, gift, but it often feels challenging. They didn't ask for this. They can't return it. They're living with minds that won't quiet, needs that aren't easily met, awareness that brings more discomfort than comfort. Sometimes they imagine being average, fitting in easily, satisfied with simple pleasures. They wonder if ignorance truly is bliss. They suspect it might be, which makes their awareness feel like cosmic irony. Midlife often brings either breakthrough or struggle. Some finally embrace their difference, stop trying to fit in, build lives that suit their actual needs rather than expected paths. Others experience difficulty under accumulated weight of years pretending, compromising, hiding. Research on lifespan development found that midlife represents a critical juncture, either integration of identity and acceptance of difference, or crisis stemming from years of self-abandonment. Those who spent decades in unsuitable careers, unfulfilling relationships, or self-denial face reckoning. This is half my life, and I've been living for others' expectations. The pain of that recognition can trigger major life changes, career shifts, relationship endings, geographical moves, or it triggers depression, anxiety, existential crisis. Midlife isn't crisis for everyone, but for intelligent people who've been hiding, it's a day of reckoning. Parenting brings unique challenges. If they have gifted children, they recognize the struggles and want to protect them, but don't know how. The world hasn't changed. If they have neurotypical children, they may find it harder to understand different ways of thinking, accidentally pressure them with expectations, or feel distance for not connecting as deeply. Studies on parenting found that highly gifted parents report higher parenting stress, particularly around educational decisions and emotional attunement. They overthink everything. Is this school right? Am I supporting enough? Too much? Are my expectations harmful? They want to give their children what they didn't have. Understanding. Appropriate challenge. Acceptance of difference. But they don't have roadmaps. They're improvising, hoping they're doing better than their own parents. Concerned they're repeating mistakes despite best intentions. Aging brings some relief. The urgency fades. The need to prove themselves diminishes. Some research suggests that older gifted adults report greater life satisfaction than their younger selves, having finally accepted their difference and built lives that accommodate it. They care less about fitting in, more about meaning. They've learned what matters, what doesn't, what they can change, what they must accept. Cognitive speed may slow slightly, but wisdom deepens. They're less reactive, more reflective. The frantic intensity of youth mellows into contemplative engagement. Some say it's the first time they've felt comfortable in their own skin, finally old enough that their internal age matches external age, finally experienced enough that their insights feel earned rather than precocious. The relief of finally feeling age-appropriate at 70, having felt too old since 7. Community, when found, is transformative. Meeting others who think similarly, who share intensity and depth, who understand without explanation, it's profound relief. Online forums, gifted adult groups, specialized conferences, spaces where they're finally not the smartest person in the room, where they can stop translating, where they belong. Research on social connection found that even brief interactions with intellectual peers significantly improve well-being and reduce feelings of isolation. One weekend conference can sustain them for months. One friend who truly gets them can change everything. They're not seeking validation or ego stroking. They're seeking recognition, the simple gift of being seen and understood. When they find it, even temporarily, it confirms they're not alone. Others exist who think this way, feel this intensely, need this depth. Community proves they're not broken. Some find purpose through contribution, using their abilities to solve problems, create beauty, advance knowledge, or help others gives meaning to the difference that's caused so much pain. Research on meaning found that gifted individuals who engage in work they perceive as meaningful show significantly better mental health outcomes than those in purely commercial or self-focused pursuits. They need to feel their intelligence matters, that their suffering had purpose, that being different enables unique contribution. Teaching, research, social innovation, art, writing, engineering solutions to important problems, work that uses their full capacity toward ends they value. Not everyone finds this. Many compromise for financial security or family obligations, but those who do often describe finally feeling their existence is justified. Their mind wasn't a burden. It was a tool for something larger. Acceptance remains the most challenging and most important work. Accepting that they'll always be different. Accepting that most people won't understand them. Accepting that intelligence brings both gifts and costs. Accepting themselves without judgment. Not despite their difference, but including it. Comprehensive reviews of well-being found that self-acceptance predicts life satisfaction more strongly than achievement, relationship status, or any external success measure. They spend so much energy wishing they were different, disliking their intensity, resenting their needs, judging themselves for not fitting in. The work is releasing that resistance, accepting, this is how I'm built, accepting, I need what I need, accepting, my difference is not defect. This acceptance doesn't come easily or permanently. It's ongoing practice, returning again and again to self-compassion, releasing shame, choosing understanding over judgment, the most important thing they can do. For those with profoundly high intelligence, IQs above 160, representing 1 in 30,000, the isolation intensifies exponentially. The distance between their thinking and average thinking becomes so vast that translation is nearly impossible. Studies examining this population found that profoundly gifted adults report even higher rates of social isolation, underemployment, and existential distress than moderately gifted peers. They're rare enough that they might never meet someone truly similar. Statistical improbability becomes lived loneliness. The world isn't built for them at all. Educational systems, workplace structures, social norms, all designed for minds several standard deviations below their capability. They're not just different, they're statistically anomalous. Outliers so far from the mean that standard accommodations don't apply. They're ghosts, present but not quite existing in the same reality as everyone else. Decision-making for profoundly gifted individuals becomes almost overwhelming. They see so many possibilities, so many implications, such deep complexity in every choice that action becomes nearly impossible. Research on decision-making at extreme intelligence levels found that above certain IQ thresholds, decision satisfaction actually decreases. They're so aware of what they're giving up with every choice, so conscious of alternative paths, that regret becomes inevitable regardless of outcome. They know too much. They see too far. Simple decisions explode into existential questions. Should I take this job becomes, what is work for? What is the good life? How should I spend my limited time alive? Nothing is simple. Everything connects to everything else. Inaction becomes the safest option. But inaction is its own choice with its own consequences. They find themselves in webs of their own understanding. Many profoundly gifted individuals report that conventional success feels hollow. They achieve what society values: degrees, positions, recognition, wealth, and feel nothing. The goals that drive others seem arbitrary or superficial. What is success for qualitative studies of profoundly gifted adults found that many struggle with conventional achievement motivation, finding external rewards insufficient to drive sustained effort. They need meaning, significance, impact, but at such abstract levels that concrete achievements never satisfy. They might revolutionize their field and still feel they haven't done enough. Or they might abandon achievement entirely. Unable to care about markers others find important. This isn't depression necessarily. It's a different relationship with success, needing something more transcendent than individual achievement can provide. They're searching for contributions that matter at scales larger than daily work provides. The profoundly gifted often feel they're from a different time, too late or too early, out of sync with the current moment. They're interested in questions humanity isn't ready for, working on problems that won't be relevant for decades, thinking at scales that don't map onto present concerns. Research on temporal displacement describes this feeling as neither delusional nor arrogant, but as a genuine mismatch between their developmental trajectory and current cultural context. Like being born speaking a language that won't be invented for 50 years. They're waiting for the world to catch up, or mourning that they missed the era when their particular genius would have been valued. They don't fit now. Maybe they never fit anywhere. Or maybe they fit everywhere and everywhen, which is just a different flavor of belonging, nowhere at all. We're 3/4 through our journey, and a picture emerges. High intelligence, particularly extreme intelligence, creates a life experience fundamentally different from statistical norms. Not better or worse, but different in ways that bring both extraordinary capability and extraordinary challenge. Current research confirms what gifted individuals have always known. Being smart doesn't make life easier. It makes it stranger. Lonelier. More complicated. They see more, feel more, understand more. And that's both gift and burden. The world wasn't built for them. They spend lives trying to fit into structures designed for different minds, succeeding partially or not at all, always feeling slightly out of phase with reality. But here's what matters. They're not alone. Statistically rare. Yes, but not alone. Others exist who think this way, struggle this way, need this depth. Finding each other is hard, but they're out there. Listening to this, perhaps? Recognizing themselves. Rare doesn't mean alone. Breathe slowly now, settling deeper into rest. You've spent so much of your life trying to be less intense, less questioning, less complicated, less yourself. What if, just for these moments, you allowed yourself to be exactly as much as you are? Feel the intensity of your mind, not as a problem to solve, but as the way you were made. Like a star burns bright, not by choice, but by nature. Your difference isn't punishment or test. It's not something you earned through fault or something you must overcome through effort. It's simply the particular way consciousness organized itself in you. Some minds run hot, some cold. Yours runs fast and deep and intense. That's not wrong. It's just what is. Let the resistance dissolve. The wish to be different. The judgment of yourself for being this way. What if you're exactly as you're supposed to be, just rare, just different, just this? Breathe into that acceptance. You don't have to earn the right to be yourself. Now we continue the final section of our journey together. Intelligence is morally neutral. It's not virtue or superiority. It's cognitive wiring. Some minds process faster, others slower. Some see patterns easily, others don't. Neither is better. Different types of intelligence exist. Analytical, creative, practical, emotional, social. IQ tests measure certain kinds but miss others. Research emphasizes that intelligence diversity is natural variation, not hierarchy. The highly intelligent person isn't more valuable than others. They're differently capable. Their struggles are real, even though society views intelligence as advantage. Privilege and pain coexist. They have abilities others lack, but they also have needs others don't understand. The point isn't ranking humans, but recognizing variety. Different minds need different things. Theirs need complexity, depth, intensity. That's not selfish or elitist. It's acknowledging their requirements for functioning. Many highly intelligent people find solace in nature. Trees don't judge. Mountains don't expect performance. The ocean's complexity satisfies without demanding social effort. Research found that gifted individuals report higher well-being when spending time in natural environments. Nature provides the complexity they need without the social exhaustion they dread. Observing ecosystems, understanding patterns, appreciating beauty, all feeds their minds while allowing emotional rest. they can be themselves without modulation. The forest doesn't care how fast they think. The stars don't mind their intensity. In nature, they're not too much or too little. They're exactly right. It's one of few places where they can simply exist without performing normalcy for others' comfort. Animals often become important companions. Pets offer unconditional acceptance without judgment of difference. A dog doesn't care about IQ. A cat doesn't find them too intense. Studies on human-animal bonds found that highly intelligent individuals report particularly strong attachments to pets, often describing them as easier relationships than human connections. Animals provide companionship without the exhaustion of social performance. They can be fully themselves, silly, emotional, playful, without fear of being misunderstood or rejected. The relationship is simple in ways human relationships never are. Pets don't expect them to slow down or simplify themselves. They just love, simply and completely. For minds that complicate everything, that simplicity is profound relief. Sometimes the best friend is the one who never asks them to be different. Music and art provide expression when words fail. Abstract creation captures complexity that language can't. Many highly intelligent people engage with arts intensely, not as hobby but as necessary outlet for internal experience that won't translate to conversation. Research on artistic expression confirms that creative engagement serves emotional regulation and identity integration functions. Through art, they express what they can't explain. Through music, they feel heard without speaking. Creation becomes language for the inexpressible, the too complex, the too much. It's also space where perfection isn't required. Art can be messy, incomplete, exploratory. The process matters more than product. Finally, something where their intensity serves rather than hinders, where being too much is exactly right. Literature offers both escape and recognition. Books provide intellectual stimulation, emotional depth, and best of all, characters who might understand them. Many gifted individuals report feeling closer to fictional characters than real people. Characters in literature think in paragraphs, feel deeply, wrestle with complexity. Real people don't. Studies on reading preferences found that highly intelligent individuals gravitate toward complex literary fiction, philosophy, and works exploring psychological depth, not for pretension, but for recognition of inner experience. Between pages, they're not alone. Authors understand. Characters share their internal complexity. Reading is communion with minds across time and space. Some find spiritual or philosophical frameworks that accommodate their questioning, not dogma. Their minds reject simple answers. But contemplative practices, existential philosophy, or scientific spirituality that allows mystery without demanding certainty. Research found that highly intelligent individuals show increased interest in philosophical meaning-making. They need frameworks that honor complexity, embrace uncertainty, and allow continuous questioning. Buddhism's acceptance of paradox, Stoicism's focus on what's controllable, or secular humanism's emphasis on human responsibility. These provide structure without constraining their minds. Spirituality becomes personal philosophy, constantly evolving, never settled. They build their own meaning since provided answers never quite fit. It's lonely work but necessary. Their souls need food their minds can accept. Teaching or mentoring can provide profound satisfaction. Helping others understand brings joy. Sharing knowledge, illuminating concepts, watching comprehension dawn. For many gifted individuals, teaching lets them use their abilities in service, connecting through intellectual exchange, even when emotional connection is difficult. Research on vocational satisfaction found that gifted adults in teaching roles report high meaning, despite often modest pay. It's not about the salary. It's about the daily experience of being useful, of their mind finally having clear purpose. Students ask the questions they love exploring. Explanation uses their natural ability to see patterns and connections. They're not too much in the classroom. They're exactly enough. Their intensity becomes gift to others, rather than burden on themselves. Writing offers another outlet. Organizing thoughts, exploring ideas, creating worlds. Many highly intelligent people write prolifically, not for publication, but for processing. Journals, essays, fiction, poetry. Whatever forms capture their internal complexity. Research on expressive writing found that gifted individuals benefit particularly from written self-reflection. Writing makes the invisible visible, the internal external. It captures the speed and depth of their thinking in ways conversation can't. On paper, they can be as complex as they need to be, as thorough as they want, as nuanced as their understanding demands. No one interrupts. No one looks impatient. They can think completely, following threads wherever they lead. Writing becomes trusted companion, patient witness to their consciousness. Humor revisited. They learn to laugh at themselves, at the absurdity of existence, at the cosmic joke of consciousness. Not defensive humor or social performance, but genuine appreciation of life's strangeness. Research on humor found that the ability to find existential humor correlates with better mental health outcomes in gifted populations, taking themselves less seriously, accepting absurdity without needing to resolve it, laughing at their own overthinking. These become survival skills. The universe is strange. Existence is unusual. Their minds are remarkable. All true. All somewhat amusing. When you can't find easy answers, you can at least find it interesting that there are no easy answers. Dark humor, absurdist humor, existential humor. These acknowledge difficulty while refusing to be destroyed by it. Many report that their greatest breakthroughs come from accepting paradox, both and instead of either or. They're gifted and struggling, intelligent and confused, capable and overwhelmed, blessed and burdened. Research on dialectical thinking found that highly intelligent individuals show increased capacity for holding contradictions. They must learn to live in both and, accepting that multiple truths coexist. Their intelligence is advantage and disadvantage. Their intensity is beautiful and exhausting. They're lonely and surrounded. All true simultaneously. No resolution needed. Just acceptance that life is complex. Identity is complex. Experience is complex. Simple stories don't capture reality. They need bigger narratives that accommodate contradiction. When they stop trying to resolve paradox and just allow it, peace becomes possible. Relationships improve when they stop hiding. Authentic connection requires authenticity, when they risk showing their full selves. Intensity, depth, complexity. Some people leave, but some stay. And those who stay become true friends. Research on authenticity found that gifted individuals who disclose their struggles and needs form deeper, more satisfying relationships. Hiding creates shallow connections. Revealing creates possibility for real meeting. Not everyone can handle their intensity. That's okay. They're not for everyone, but they are for someone. The people who stay after seeing all of them. Those are their people. Quantity matters less than quality. Better one friend who truly knows them than dozens who know only the performance. Risk brings rejection, but also possibility of genuine connection. Worth it. Some discover community through their work. Academics find colleagues who match their depth. Engineers find teams who share their problem-solving joy. Artists find creative partners who understand. Not everyone finds professional community, but those who do describe finally belonging somewhere. Research on workplace satisfaction found that gifted individuals who find intellectual peers at work show significantly better mental health. Work becomes more than income. It becomes daily connection with similar minds. Shared language. Common purpose. They can be themselves professionally, even if socially they still struggle. 8 hours a day of belonging is enough to sustain them through lonely evenings. They save their best selves for work because that's where they're understood. Not ideal, but better than never belonging anywhere. Technology enables connection across distance. Online communities, forums, video calls. Gifted individuals separated by geography can now find each other. The internet's gift to the statistically rare. You're not limited to people near you. Somewhere exists someone who thinks like you. And now you can find them. Research on online communities found that virtual connections significantly reduce isolation. They can be anonymous, reducing pressure. They can be thoughtful rather than immediate, suiting their processing style. They can find niche interests with global reach. The person who shares their specific fascination might live across the world. But that matters less now. Technology hasn't solved loneliness entirely, but it's helped. Many eventually create the lives they need, rather than accepting standard scripts. Unconventional careers, unusual living arrangements, customized social lives. They build around their actual requirements instead of forcing themselves into preset molds. Research on life satisfaction found that gifted individuals who deviate from conventional life paths report higher well-being. The cost is social acceptance. The benefit is actually functioning. They might work part-time to preserve energy for creative pursuits. They might live alone because shared space is overwhelming. They might have unusual friend arrangements. Text, only friendships. Annual intense weekends. Online connection without meeting. Others judge these choices, but they know themselves now. They know what they need to survive and occasionally thrive. Other people's approval matters less than their own well-being. Self-compassion might be their most important practice, treating themselves with kindness when they struggle, acknowledging difficulty without judgment, allowing imperfection. Research found that self-compassion predicts well-being more strongly than self-esteem in gifted populations. Self-esteem is contingent, based on performance, achievement, others' opinions. Self-compassion is stable, based on shared humanity, recognition of suffering, kindness toward oneself. They need self-compassion because they'll always struggle in ways others don't. Their needs won't ever be mainstream. Their differences won't disappear. But they can choose kindness toward themselves in that struggle. They can acknowledge this is hard without making it mean they're failing. Self-compassion doesn't fix the difficulty. It just means being gentle with themselves while navigating it. That's enough. Purpose often involves using their difference for others, teaching those who struggle to understand, creating complexity for those who need it, solving problems others can't, advocating for the misunderstood. Research found that gifted individuals engaged in pro-social work report highest life satisfaction, not selfish success but service, using what makes them different to help others. This transforms the pain of difference into meaning. Their struggles weren't pointless. They created understanding they can now share. They can help others who feel like they felt. They can create what they needed but didn't have. Turning pain into purpose doesn't erase the pain, but it gives reason for having survived it. They suffered. They learned. Now they help. Linear story. Clear meaning. Aging brings wisdom about what matters. The urgency fades. The need for external validation diminishes. Many report that their 60s or 70s finally bring peace. They've accepted themselves, built suitable lives, let go of expectations. Research on lifespan development found that gifted individuals show increasing life satisfaction in later decades after often difficult young adulthood and midlife. They've outlasted the pressure. They've survived the struggling. Now they can simply be wise, individual, themselves without apology. The young, gifted person's suffering wasn't permanent. It just felt that way. On the other side is acceptance. Hard, won, and precious. The reward for surviving themselves is finally getting to be themselves. Worth it. Though that's hard to believe at 25 when you're drowning in difference. Some gifted individuals mentor younger gifted people, offering what they didn't receive. Understanding, validation, guidance, being told you're not broken. Your needs are real. You're not alone. Research on mentorship found that gifted youth with gifted adult mentors show significantly better outcomes. The mentor doesn't have to fix everything. They just have to see the young person accurately, acknowledge the struggle, and witness their experience without judgment. That alone is transformative. Knowing one person understands changes everything. The young, gifted person stops drowning in isolation. They're seen. Someone knows what this is like. That knowledge sustains through difficulty. Mentoring becomes reciprocal. It heals both mentor and mentee, closing loops of pain, creating connection across generations. Many discover their greatest gift isn't their intelligence, but their ability to understand others' suffering. Because they've struggled, they recognize pain. Because they felt different, they notice others' differences. Empathy becomes their strength. Not cognitive empathy, understanding, which they always had, but effective empathy, feeling with, which they develop through their own suffering. Research on empathy found that gifted individuals who've processed their own struggles show increased compassionate behavior. Their pain made them kinder. Their isolation made them more inclusive. Their difference made them champions for the different. This doesn't justify suffering. Suffering shouldn't be necessary for compassion. But it transforms suffering retroactively. It wasn't pointless. It created depth of understanding they now use to help others. Intelligence doesn't make them special in the ways they once thought it would. It doesn't make them better, more valuable, more deserving. It just makes them them, with particular abilities, particular struggles, particular ways of being. Research on identity found that the healthiest gifted individuals are those who integrate intelligence as one aspect of identity rather than primary identity. They're intelligent and creative and kind and broken and healing and complex. Not just smart. Whole humans with intelligence as one feature among many. This integration reduces pressure. They don't have to be brilliant every moment to justify existence. They can have bad days, make mistakes, be average at some things. Their worth isn't contingent on performance. Intelligence is what they have, not who they are. This distinction brings freedom from expectation, from pressure, from performing perpetual genius. The question we started with, why do extremely intelligent people experience the world so differently, has many answers. Brain structure, processing speed, emotional intensity, sensory sensitivity, awareness, complexity. But perhaps the deepest answer is simpler. They experience more. More input, more processing, more feeling, more thinking, more awareness. Not better experiences, more experiences. Higher resolution, higher volume, higher everything. Current research confirms this basic truth. Intelligence amplifies experience, and amplification brings both beauty and pain. They see sunsets more vividly, understand music more deeply, feel connections more intensely, but they also feel rejection more sharply, understand mortality more completely, see problems more comprehensively. The same dial that turns up joy turns up suffering. They can't have one without the other. This is why intelligence is genuinely both gift and challenge, because it's amplification without discrimination. But here's what matters most. They're not mistakes. Evolution created diversity in cognitive ability for reasons we're still understanding. Different types of minds serve different functions. Some minds are meant for community cohesion, some for artistic expression, some for systematic problem solving, some for conceptual innovation. All necessary, all valuable. Theirs happen to be wired for complexity, pattern recognition, deep processing. Not better, just different. Research emphasizes neurodiversity as natural variation, not hierarchy. We need different minds. Their particular type of mind has contributed science, art, philosophy, technology throughout history. Yes, they struggle. Yes, the world doesn't fit them well, but their existence serves purposes they might not see. Their questioning advances understanding. Their creativity generates beauty. Their intensity deepens culture. They matter. Their struggles matter. And their contributions matter. Not despite their difference, but through it. Connection across difference is possible. Not easy. Not automatic. But possible. They can build bridges to different types of minds, finding common ground in shared humanity, even when thinking styles differ vastly. And different types of minds can learn to appreciate theirs, seeing their intensity not as judgment, but as their natural state, understanding their needs without taking them personally. Research on cross-cognitive communication found that mutual effort enables genuine connection. It requires patience, willingness to translate, appreciation of difference without hierarchy. The highly intelligent person must meet others where they are. Others must make effort to understand unfamiliar cognitive styles. Both sides must try. Neither is sufficient alone. But when both happen, connection becomes possible. Not perfect understanding. Humans never perfectly understand each other, but enough understanding, enough connection, enough to matter. Their journey through life will probably always be more challenging in some ways, easier in others. Certain struggles won't disappear. The need for complexity, the intensity, the social challenges, but they can build lives that work. Find people who understand, create meaning from their difference. They can learn to be gentle with themselves, advocate for their needs, accept what won't change while working on what might. Research consistently shows that gifted individuals can achieve well-being, but it often looks different than for others. Their happiness might be quieter, more internal, less dependent on conventional success. Their satisfaction might come from intellectual engagement more than social belonging. Their peace might be accepting lack of complete peace. Minds that never fully quiet, but can learn to coexist with their own intensity. Not the happiness sold in commercials, but real contentment. Hard-won and precious. Possible, not guaranteed, but possible, and they deserve to reach for it. So yes, people with extremely high IQ experience the world differently, profoundly, measurably, undeniably differently. Their brains process faster, connect more, feel deeper. This creates lives marked by intensity, complexity, and often isolation. But it also creates capacity for understanding, creating, and contributing in unique ways. Their journey isn't easy. No one's is. But theirs brings particular challenges that others often don't recognize as real. Yet they're still here, listening to this, making it through another day of feeling too much and thinking too fast. That persistence matters. Their survival matters. They matter. Not because of what they might achieve or contribute, but because they exist, conscious and aware, and struggling beautifully through this strange experience of being alive. Tonight, perhaps they can rest knowing they're not alone, not wrong, not too much. They're exactly as much as they are, and somewhere, others like them are thinking similar thoughts, feeling similar feelings, breathing similar breaths, connected across distance by the shared experience of being wired differently. Rare, but real. Different, but deserving. Struggling, but surviving. Human. Beautifully and painfully human. Just like everyone else. Good night. Brilliant mind. You've earned your rest. And so, our quiet journey through the architecture of exceptional minds comes to a gentle close. We've traveled from childhood isolation and neurological difference to adult acceptance and hard-won wisdom, discovering along the way that intelligence is neither blessing nor curse, but simply a particular way of being human. From the child who learned too fast and felt too much, to the adult still searching for intellectual home, we've glimpsed how high intelligence is both extraordinary capability and ordinary suffering. Just human struggle wearing different clothes. These brilliant, Complicated minds remind us that human diversity extends to cognition itself. Much of the richest thinking happens in silence, in private notebooks and midnight ruminations, in questions most people never think to ask. They reveal patience with their own rarity, resilience through their isolation, and the courage to keep seeking connection when connection feels impossible. Without their particular way of seeing, humanity would miss patterns, depths, and possibilities that only certain types of minds can perceive. In these final minutes, take the deepest breath you possibly can. Think about consciousness itself. Yours, mine, everyone listening, all awareness everywhere. Perhaps all connected in ways we don't yet understand. Every person listening tonight carries their own pattern of neural firing, their own frequency of thought, their own quality of awareness. Some fast, some slow, all equally valid. You are not alone in the universe of minds. You're a wave in an ocean of consciousness, individual but not separate. Let your entire being dissolve into that ocean, into the space before thought, where fast and slow, simple and complex, all distinctions fade away. Prepare now for deep sleep. No boundaries left between you and rest. Only peace. Only the gentle darkness welcoming you home. This thoughtful exploration connects searching minds across the darkness. A gentle like and subscribe helps other overthinkers, deep feelers, and beautifully complicated souls discover this peaceful sanctuary too. One quiet tap, one sleepy soul at a time. But there's no need to do anything now. Nothing at all. You've traveled far tonight, farther than most journeys take you. You can allow these thoughts about intelligence, intensity, and difference to fade now, like morning mist dissolving in sunlight, leaving only the warm, soft calm behind. Let your breathing deepen naturally. Let your body feel heavier, as if gravity itself is gently pulling you down into your bed, into the earth, into safety. If sleep comes now, let it carry you like a river flowing to the ocean, smoothly, inevitably, into a realm where thinking stops, where complexity dissolves, where your beautiful, exhausting mind finally rests. If your eyes are still open, the next video is waiting for you, ready to continue accompanying you through the night. But if they've closed, stay there. Stay in the darkness that feels safe and warm and accepting. Tomorrow, the questions will still be there. The patterns will still reveal themselves. Your mind will still process, connect, understand. But tonight belongs to stillness, to the blessed relief of not thinking, not analyzing, not being anything except peacefully. Finally, mercifully asleep. Rest well, brilliant one. And remember, your mind is not too much. It's exactly what it needs to be. Rare, intense, complicated, and completely, utterly acceptable just as it is. Dream deeper with bedtime psychology, where science meets sleep and brilliant minds find peace. Good night.